So when it comes to air compressors for your off-road or overlanding rig, usually there's a few options. You can either have a hard-mounted air compressor, you can have a large tank, or you can have a portable air compressor like this one from Thor's Lightning. Now, here's the other thing. Where do you mount it? Well, I'm about to show you a mounting solution from Thor's Lightning that you can use in the back of your Jeep Gladiator. Stay tuned. So what do you get in the kit from Thor's Lightning? So this is going to be the mounting bracket itself. It's powder coated, looks like a really durable steel plate mount. It's got holes in it. Right here we're going to attach the compressor on the inside of this, and then right here are holes where you attach this then to the trail rail system of your Jeep Gladiator. If you don't have the trail rail system, I highly encourage you to get it because it does make it a lot easier. I'm sure that there's also a way that you can rig it up as long as you can fit something to fit these back holes on there. You can figure out some way to mount it up. The other thing that they give you is going to be a wiring kit. This wiring kit is going to allow us to keep the compressor hardwired and powered the entire time. So there's no more pulling it out of the back seat, having to store it somewhere in the cab of the truck, and then pulling it out when you're needing it. This is hardwired, so you get to use it immediately whenever you do need it. And it comes with all of the different switches and connections as well to be able to make this happen. So that's the next thing I'm going to take you through is the installation of this mount. If you've been watching this channel for a while, one thing that you know that I love is paper instructions. So kudos to Thor's Lightning for including paper instructions on both how to mount the bracket itself as well as how to do the wiring. Before we get started with the installation of this, I do want to thank you, almost 3,000 subscribers to this channel. And for those of you who haven't subscribed yet, I ask you to hit that subscribe button and hit the like button just to help us out and make sure that we can bring more videos like this to you. So the first step here is you're going to want to unbolt the platform plate here from the compressor itself using a 10mm wrench and a 10mm socket. All right, so one thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to save the hardware that comes off, right? And make sure that you're saving these rubber grommets as well, because we are going to reuse those when we mount it onto the bracket. All right, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to line up those bolts with the bolt holes that are on the bottom of the bracket itself. So we're going to kind of shimmy it in, we're going to get everything lined up, and then we're going to use that same hardware to tighten it all down. All right, so these little rubber grommets, little spacers that help prevent the vibration, they're actually kind of a pain to keep in place while you're doing this. And so we're going to put just a little bit of dab of Gorilla Glue just on here, just to hold them in place long enough to where when we put the compressor bolts through, it actually holds them in place, and this should help us out. All right, so we've got this perched up on this block of wood. Everybody out there, I know you got a block of wood out there in your garage, and you can use this to basically perch it up, and it's going to be a lot easier to be able to drop the compressor down, and then you can be able to tighten the nuts underneath the bolt with your hand just to get them started once you do that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick up the compressor, and we are going to align it with the holes. Requires just a little bit of finesse. There we go. So now that we've got all the bolts threaded through the holes, we're going to go ahead and tighten them down with the same 10mm wrench and 10mm socket. So the next step that we're going to do is mount this onto the trail rail system using these pieces right here that are going to slide into the trail rail, and then these bolts that are going to secure it as well. We have these little basically rubber scuff pads that are going to go onto the mounting bracket as well. That helps us to not mark up our paint in the process over time. And on the bracket itself, we're going to tighten it to the mounting plate, the mounting bracket, using this supplied bolt here in this bracket. Now there's two mounting options. You can either mount it a little bit higher up, or you can go a little bit lower down depending on what your use is. I'm going to mount this in the back of the Gladiator's bed because that's the best option for me. It offers me the best amount of space, and I don't reduce my side to side amount of room whenever we're out camping or loading gear, or if I'm using my Jeep like a truck that day. So we're going to go ahead and mount this up, and I'll show you how that happens. All right, go ahead and use a 17mm wrench to tighten up this nut right here. This is a nylock nut as well, so it's going to stay nice and tight once we do get it on there. It's just going to take a little bit of patience. Use this time to think and reflect on life. So while we're doing this, go ahead and drop down in the comments, what type of air compressor are you running? Also, stick around to the end because I'm going to have a discount code for you on this Thor's Lightning system. Again, I've been very, very pleased with it. We have a couple of videos, which I'm also going to link at the end and down in the description below, that shows you the performance of this compressor. So one of the things that we're going to have to do in order to wire this into the Jeep's battery is cut off these alligator clips. That's going to be a moment. But in order to continue to identify which one is the positive wire, we're going to take this ink marker, or you can take a piece of tape or whatever suits your fancy, something to mark on here what is the hot wire versus the ground wire. All right, so once we've got our wires cut, we are going to route them through a hole that's in the back of the bracket, and that's going to help keep our wiring a lot cleaner with this. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. So now that we've got the wiring run through the back of the bracket here, we're going to go ahead and attach it to the trail rail system. So before I go ahead and add this up to the trail rail system, I went ahead and grabbed the Allen key, which is a 5/16 Allen key that is going to fit this bolt perfectly so that I have it before I get in the back of the truck and then have to climb back out. All right, so this is going to be the part where we're going to attach this into the trail rail system. Y'all forgive me, by the way, y'all. It's hot here in the South today. In Alabama, it is 100 degrees here today, and we are filming this here. So if you see me getting super sweaty in this awesome Thor's Lightning t-shirt, available at their website, then, you know, kind of forgive me on that. It is just a hot one today. All right, so we went ahead and we got the bolts started. So now we can go ahead and just tighten them up. There you have it. The actual compressor is now mounted up. A bit bobbly in here. You know, I think that if you were to put it up against the side, there's probably a little bit more of an extension to where it braces it a little bit more up against the side. I'm sure that there's a way that we could remedy that, and for now we're just going to go ahead and keep it mounted here until we can figure out maybe another solution for mounting it perhaps on the side itself. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and route the wires. Now, luckily for us, if you're a Gladiator owner, there are holes that are in the bed just like this that we can utilize as a pass-through to be able to go and mount our wiring. We're going to run the ground wire to the frame, and I'll show you what that looks like outside and what I've decided is going to be a good mounting point for that. And we'll basically go ahead and wire that up, and we're going to send the other part, the positive, up to the battery area of the vehicle. So give us 1 second and we'll go ahead and show you that piece. So what we're going to go ahead and do is run the wires through this hole right here, which comes out just inside the fender, and we're going to run the negative wire back here to this bolt right here, so it grounds it out to the frame. And then we're going to run the other wires, the positive, all the way up to the front of the Jeep. All right, for the next step, we're going to go ahead and route both our power and our negative wire through that hole that I showed you down below. A 13mm socket takes care of this bolt, getting it off. So for the next stage of what we're going to do, we are going to take these Gen Power connectors that are provided in the kit, and we are going to snap in each one of both the positive and negative. Now, if you notice on here, this is, I don't know if you can get closer, babe, with this. What this is going to do is basically you put it into the connector itself. You're going to hear a snap, and it is going to connect it. Negative, negative, positive, positive. All right, then what we're going to do is we're going to connect the other end of our wires that we cut. Now, good thing we marked them as well. We're going to go ahead and crimp those in to this, connect it up to this, and then the last thing we'll have to do is run the wiring to the battery. All right, so I went ahead and remarked the wires again, a little bit shorter. So again, I confirmed that this is the positive wire. So we're going to go ahead and keep that labeled, and I'm going to go ahead and make a cut here. And then I'm going to do the same with the negative wire. What we're going to do is we're going to recrimp these into the connectors so that we can utilize them for this new pigtail that we have here. All right, so now that we got these stripped out, we are going to attach them to these provided connectors to go ahead and use in our connector, our GenPower pigtail connector here. All right, so now that we've got these crimped, I'm gonna let the camera focus for a little bit. Now that we got them crimped on, we used just a regular pair of pretty heavy duty wire crimpers to put these on. Now, a lot of folks will say to go ahead and heat shrink these, like do some shrink tube on them, and I agree with that. I'm going to come back and do that piece because right now I can't find my heat gun. And so we'll come back and make sure we heat shrink these. All right, the next thing we're going to do is on here, you can see it's sort of clearly labeled positive. Well, let me see if it'll focus. Come on, focus for me. All right, as you can see on here, it's labeled positive and negative. We want to make sure that we put the right wire into this connector in the right fashion. So again, that's why we marked the wires with something, either tape or a little bit of paint pen, and that way we can ensure success on this. Now it's just as simple as taking these two connectors and hooking them together. So there you have it, connected, nice and clean here. So what we're going to do is we're going to now run this all the way to the battery. All right, so we've gone ahead and we've run this wire, but one of the things is that we've got this massive spool of wire here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and run it along the length of here, underneath, securing it to the underside of the Jeep. And then we are going to mount the switch right here in order to, again, have that fuse block in the way. That way we don't have a disaster happen, engine fire or anything like that. So that's going to be the next step that we're going to do. Now that we've run this wire, the power wire, all the way through the underside of the Jeep, and if I ever tell anybody that I like to wire, then you obviously know it's not me at that point, right? All right, so anyway, we got that all wired up. What we're going to do now is we are going to install this switch. Now, you have to sort of pick a spot as to where you're going to install it. So my mounting location, I think, is going to be right here on the side. The hood should still close without a problem. I looked at it, kind of measured it out to make sure, kind of test fit it to also make sure. So it should fit without a problem. And there's actually already a threaded hole here, which I have got, I believe if I recall correctly, it's an M8 bolt that I can utilize for that. I tried using the one that was a self-tapping one, and there may be some options in here. I'm just not finding it. And so for me, I'm just going to go with something like this, and I know I can guarantee success with it. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and tap that and sort of see where we go from there. All right, so that actually worked out really well. That's secured, the hood doesn't interfere with it, and it's actually a pretty clean little install. The thing is, I've got a ton of wire left over. Now, I'm just gonna leave it like this for right now, just for the sake of the video for the install, but I do plan on trimming this up, recrimping it and then shortening up that so it's a little bit cleaner. Again, just for the sake of the video, I just wanna make sure that I'm giving you guys the meat and potatoes of how to install this. So the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and hook it up to the auxiliary port, and then we are going to hook the other one up to the battery port, and then we should be good to go to give it a test fire. Something I also should have mentioned before, we are going to disconnect the negative terminal of the battery while we do this process, just to make sure we're staying safe. All right, so we went ahead and hooked up the negative cable back to the battery, and so now the real moment of truth is, does it work? And you know what? It sure does. I'm going to work the camera in here. All right, so as you can see, it does work. So we now technically have onboard air. So now all I have to do is pull out this hose, connect my four-way inflation system or even my single inflation hose, and I can fill up a tire, I can fill up all four tires, and I don't have to pull the compressor out of the back seat, and I don't have to have it live in the back seat, which takes up basically the entire passenger floorboard. So again, this is really, really cool. I am going to enjoy this, and eventually I'll probably figure out some way to mount this, maybe in like sort of a chuck system or whatever, to where it's on the side where I don't have to have it dangling all the time. But again, this is really, really cool. So hats off to Thor's Lightning for this one. So here it is, fully installed, and man, this thing looks great. What a clean way to install an air compressor in the bed of your Gladiator. And again, I chose the back part of the Gladiator here, closest to the glass, because of the fact that on the side, it stuck out a little bit much for me to be able to use it like I use my Gladiator. I actually use it like a pickup truck a lot of the times. And so I like having it here in the back because it's just out of the way. And I can still access it from the side of the bed, no problem, with just as much ease as I could from the side. So again, your mileage may vary as to what you decide that you want to do as far as your mounting location. But Gary, you handsome devil, I hear you say, what if this is out in the elements the entire time? Isn't it going to get wet, and isn't that going to cause some damage to it? Well, there's a solution for that. They actually make this really, really cool cover that will go over the top of your compressor and keeps it nice and waterproof. So put it on, cinch it down, and boom, you're covered. So there you have it, the full install of the bed mount and wiring kit for the Jeep Gladiator for the Thor's Lightning air compressor. Now, full disclosure, we are an affiliate for Thor's Lightning. They did send us this at a discounted rate, so we still did pay some of our money for it. They did not pay us to do any kind of review or to shed any kind of positive light on this product. I love this product. I've made a couple of videos in the past prior to us being an affiliate where I've said how much I like this product. And I would not tell you to go out and buy something that I myself would not put on my own Jeep. Now, with that being said, there is an affiliate link down below in the description. If you click on it, it does help out the channel, and I thank you very much for that. And if you use the promo code DixieOverland10, you will get 10% off of your order on the Thor's Lightning website. Well, with that being said, I'll tell you what, I am hot, and I am gonna go inside and I'm gonna drink something very, very cold. In the meantime, I've been Gary from Dixie Overland. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and the adventure is just getting started. Before we get started with the install, cutting off these alligator, blah, 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 blah. All right, can you even see this at all?
Yes.
Okay.